All right, guys, I've got a really cool story that I want to share with you today. It involves me getting punched in the face, meeting someone famous, and an important lesson about the power of positive mental visualization or manifestation, whatever you want to call it. Now, even though you all come to this channel to learn guitar, this story actually has nothing to do with guitar playing, but I do still think that you should listen to it because the key takeaway from this story, which I will share at the end of the video, I believe is something that can be applied to making progress in any area of your life, be it guitar or some other thing, right? So, I've just recently returned to Nashville after a short visit to Bangkok, Thailand. And when I was out there, I was visiting one of my best friends, Barney, who I've known for over 12 years at this point. He's been one of the most positive influences on my life trajectory in the 12 years that we've known each other. And he lives there in Thailand. And so to give a bit of backstory, I started training Muay Thai at the beginning of this year. And my friend Barney, he's been training since he was a teenager. And so for as long as I can remember, this guy has been pushing me to start training. And so naturally, when I told him I was going to come to Bangkok to go and see him, we started talking about maybe going to a gym one afternoon to get some training in together. And so we started scouting out gyms online, and we decided on one called PK Sanchai, which is where a lot of famous one championship fighters train. So in my mind, the best possible outcome for this day would be to go to this legendary gym, get some good training in together, have a great workout, and then maybe get to take some pictures with famous Thai fighters. That morning, we went out shopping. I went to buy some gloves and shin guards so that I'd have some gear to train in. And then we hop in a taxi to head to this gym. About 40 minutes into this car ride, I think to myself, shouldn't we be there by now? Like, I'd looked at the place on Google Maps and it wasn't that far away from the hotel that we were staying in. And so I pull up Google Maps on my phone and I'm looking at where PK Sanchai is, and I'm looking at where we are, and we're miles away from this gym, like heading in the completely opposite direction. And so I say to Barney, I think this guy's taking us to the wrong place. And he kind of looks at me with a grin on his face and says, "We're not going to that gym. Actually, I've actually planned something a lot more special for this afternoon." And he explains to me that for the past couple of months, he's been in contact with a family of world famous Muay Thai fighters. And as a surprise for my 30th birthday, which was a few weeks prior, he organized a training session for us at this gym, at their family gym, right? And he said that someone special may or may not be there to meet us after we're done training. He didn't say who it was, but needless to say, I was very intrigued, I was excited, and I was starting to get a bit nervous as we were getting closer to this gym because I'm realizing we're going to like a proper hardcore Thai gym. And so we pull up to this place. It's like way on the outskirts of the city. There's nothing around. The gym is practically like in the middle of a rice field. That's kind of what it looks like. And as I walk into the gym and I see the boxing rings and I see the heavy bags, I feel like I've seen the place before, like maybe in a YouTube video or an Instagram reel. It looks very familiar. But then when I turn to my left and I see what's in front of me, I realize in an instant where I am, because on this wall that I'm looking at, it's plastered with images of famous Thai fighters. And in front of these pictures, there's a cardboard cutout of who is perhaps the most famous active superstar in the sport today, Rodtang. Now, if you don't know much about Muay Thai, Rodtang, as I just said, he's a superstar of the sport, living legend. Even before I knew about Muay Thai, I mean, even before I started following the sport, I knew who Rodtang was, partly because Barney would always send me videos of his old fights. And so I turned to Barney and I say, "Don't tell me you've taken me to Rodtang's gym." And he says, "Yeah, this is his family gym. They've let us train here for the day." And he's going to show up later to come and meet us. And so at this point, I'm absolutely speechless. I can't believe that that is where we are. Anyway, we meet his training partners and his coaches, and we start going through this training session. It was brutal. It was a really, really tough workout. I mean, it was the hardest workout of my life, bar none. I think we went for 2.5 hours total. It was jump rope, bag work, pad work, sparring, clinching, stretching. It was a lot. I left the gym that day with a little bit of a black eye, which I got from one of Rod Tang's training partners. This kid must have been like 16 years old, and he beat me so badly. So it was a humbling and scary experience getting to train with these young, hungry Thai fighters. Terrifying, but fun at the same time, you know. And during the session, Rod Tang walked into the gym, and I'm as a guitar player of 20 years now, I'm used to meeting famous musicians and people that I look up to in the guitar and music world, right? And I don't often get starstruck, but when he walked into that gym and I saw him and he walked right past us and he said hello, I was starstruck. I really was. I mean, I think it was just because I had no idea that any of this was going to happen, right? It came out of nowhere. My friend, he hit the surprise very well. And so, anyway, at the end of the training session, we go over to Rod Tang, start chatting with him, and he was gracious enough to take some pictures with us. And then his wife's sister, who was my friend Barney's point of contact, who set up this whole thing up, she walks in the gym, comes and says hello to us, and she's holding that pair of boxing gloves, which Barney had purchased from her so that she could bring them in to get Rod Tang to sign, which, as you can see, he did. And so we hung out in the gym for maybe half an hour after training, just chatting with Rod Tang like a normal person. It was surreal. And Barney brought over some gifts for the family as a thank you for allowing us to train and meet Rod Tang. And so we get back in the taxi to head back to the hotel. And I'm like, okay, you need to tell me how you pulled that off, because the experience that we just had in that gym is something that I think just about any fan of Muay Thai would kill to have, right? It was like a dream. It felt like I was going to wake up, I was going to text Barney and say, hey, I had a dream that we were in Bangkok and somehow we were in Rod Tang's gym and he showed up and he took pictures with us and signed gloves. But no, that actually happened, funnily enough. And so he explained to me what he did. He'd managed to get in touch with Rod Tang's wife's sister, and they'd been chatting in Thai because my friend Barney, he speaks, reads, and writes in Thai, so that definitely helped. And yeah, they'd been organizing it for a couple of months, like I said, as a surprise for my 30th birthday. But even after he told me that, I was still asking him, okay, but how did you pull that off? And he said something very interesting to me, which was that he'd actually visualized the entire thing in his mind. He'd visualized it playing out the exact way that it did on the day. Like us pulling up to the gym, getting to do the training session, Rod Tang walking in, taking pictures, him signing the gloves, all of it played out the exact way that he'd been visualizing it for weeks in his mind, right? And I thought that was very interesting because I too have used the power of what I would call positive mental visualization or manifestation in many areas of my life. I mean, namely moving to Nashville. I can remember that when I still lived in Scotland and I was working on my US visa application, I would go on these long walks around Edinburgh where I lived at the time. And on these walks, I would spend most of that time thinking about and visualizing this dream life that I wanted to build after moving to Nashville. I would think about what I wanted my social life to look like, what kind of apartment I wanted to live in, what gigs I wanted to be playing, how I wanted to balance gigs with my online course business and many other things. And, now that I'm living here, I've been out here for over a year now, I can say that is the life that I'm living today. And I fully believe that it had a lot to do with putting those positive thoughts out there into the universe, right? Repeatedly thinking about the best possible outcome. I believe that had an effect on me getting my visa, and then now being able to live this dream life that I'm lucky to live. Same goes for my weight loss journey. When I was very overweight, I used to constantly visualize in my mind what I could potentially look like if I just remained consistent with my diet and with my training for the rest of my life. And so, if you can take something away from this as a guitar player specifically, well, what I would say is that I think a lot of guitar players spend most of their time thinking about and focusing on the surface level of guitar playing, like learning songs, theory, techniques, practice routines, all that good stuff, which is, of course, massively important. You wouldn't get very far if you didn't learn any of that stuff. But I do believe that every guitar player, every musician could benefit from positive visualization, like thinking about or creating a dream vision in your mind of what you want to achieve as a guitar player and repeatedly thinking about that day in, day out, because thoughts lead to actions, which lead to habits, which drive outcomes. So if you do have a goal for your guitar playing right now, like maybe it's mastering a song that's pushing you outside of your comfort zone, don't just practice the song and learn the parts. I mean, do all of that, of course, but also outside of your guitar practice, just take some time to visualize you like nailing the song from start to finish. Start thinking about that day by day and just watch what happens over time. Now, if there's anyone watching this who has a story about using positive mental visualization or manifestation to achieve a desired outcome in your life, please do share it in the comments. I'd love to read it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.